Welcome to Ride or Rot, or welcome back. Today we're going to be diving into something that's really important that can save you thousands of dollars in the long run. And that is how to trade your vehicle in, things to keep in mind to get the most money out of your trade, and some red flags to keep you from getting screwed over. I guess nice, easy way to say it. I was a Harley-Davidson sales manager for many years, and I have worked hundreds and hundreds of motorcycle deals and helped out multiple people getting on their next vehicle. And I am here to give you some insider tips on how to get the most out of your trade as you can and save you a lot of money. So before you go sign that dotted line and throw your keys over to a salesman, watch this video because I can promise you right now, this is going to save you some money. Let's get to it. So let's talk about some things that will save you money, because that's obviously the most important part, and that's probably why you're watching this video. And then here at the end of this video, make sure you stick around because I'm going to talk about some red flags that you need to keep an eye out for, because I can promise you right now, there's a lot of shady people out there that are doing a lot of shady things when it comes to business. So the first thing is going to be getting your 10-day payoff. The way you do that is you call your bank. Hey, I'm looking to trade my vehicle in. I'm looking to sell my vehicle. It doesn't even really matter. What's my 10-day payoff? They will give you that amount and email that amount. Make sure you get those emailed to you, because you're more than likely going to have to get that to the finance guy, to the sales guys at the dealership, so they know what payoff is on that vehicle. Now, what your 10-day payoff is basically the amount you owe on a loan plus some interest. It's going to explain it to you to the T. If you have any questions about that, I can make another video. Just comment below. So say you walk into a dealership and you know you owe $25,000 on this vehicle. The dealership offers you $22,000. There's $3,000 that you're going to have to come up with to pay off that other loan, or you're going to be rolling negative equity into the next loan for whatever you're buying next. Always try to avoid rolling negative equity over, because you're going to be paying interest on that. And, you know, say the vehicle you're looking at is worth $10,000 and you roll $5,000 over, that's $5,000 you're already upside down in that next loan. So always, 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 I mean, you can use that as a negotiation tactic. Hey, I owe $25,000, you're giving me $23,000. I need $2,000 more to make this happen. Now, be realistic on what the value of that vehicle is. I see a lot of times, a lot of people come into the dealership and we're wanting to trade their vehicle over, but when they bought that specific bike that they're trying to trade in, they went in negative $8,000, and of course that loan's not going to reflect what the value of that actually is. So got to be realistic, but always get your 10-day payoff, number one. Number two is do your research. You can get online and look around, but again, be realistic. If you're looking on Facebook Marketplace and you are using that as concrete evidence that your whatever it may be is worth this much money because you've seen it online for sale for that, that doesn't mean it's going to sell for that. You need to actually get on, look at JD Power. You know, there's a lot of different websites that can give you a kind of an accurate, rough window of what that vehicle's worth. Don't use Kelley Blue Book. Don't use Kelley Blue Book. Blue Book is behind on the market a lot. I'm talking, I've seen, you know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 from what the market's actually showing what the vehicle's worth. So do your research, but do it the right way. Have an idea when you walk into the dealership what you have. You know, there's a lot of people out there that are getting taken advantage of because they don't realize, hey, you know, this is a low mile vehicle. And right now with gas prices, the market value went up on them. Market value is what the market in your area is saying that that vehicle's worth. So there's software that dealerships use to basically pull up what the market value is on that specific, I'm going to say bike, condition to, you know, color to miles to all these things. You can see a 2015 Street Glide that's worth $16,000 here in Indiana, but on the West Coast it could be $22,000. I mean, it all depends on what is in the market in that area with the mileage and, you know, condition and things like that, which is going to dictate what those bikes or vehicle, truck, car is worth. Something that I seen all the time is people would bring in their motorcycle for trade, and it would have a 1/4 inch thick of bugs across the fairing. You know, there's oil and grease underneath the engine, just dirty. Now, I will tell you from firsthand, if you bring a bike in that is tip-top, clean, ready to go, that shows that you take care of your stuff. First impressions are huge. When you walk out and you see that motorcycle and it has been taken care of. It's clean. You wipe your hand underneath that primary and there's no goop on it. That shows that you take care of your stuff. And that shows that, you know, in the end game, I know you took care of those services. I know because this bike was taken care of. Same thing with the truck or car. Before you bring it into a dealership, clean it, wash it, get inside with the vacuum and sweep that thing out and make it look good. I can promise you more than likely you're going to get more for your trade just based off of it being clean. I know, it sounds crazy, don't it? If you have service records for your vehicle, bring them with you. You know, I've seen multiple times, you know, the OG graybeards bring in their book full of all the services. If there was ever a recall, paperwork showing it got done, you know, the batteries, the tires, the fluids, that there is like gold because it's going to lay out everything that bike's been through its life. You know, if someone brings in a vehicle and there's no service history on it, nothing's ever been done to it, and you don't have any proof of what you have done to it, and then you have someone who brings in the same car with a book full of, you know, its services and it's been taken care of, what one do you think is going to get more money? The person who shows that they took care of the vehicle. So if you have the receipts, if you have any of that, keep it. Throw it into a gallon Ziploc bag, throw it in your glove box or folder or whatever you want, because I promise you, it's going to save you some money. Another huge one is the incentives that are given to the buyer. Now, all manufacturers are going to do different incentives throughout the year. And, you know, specifically get on the websites and look. Sometimes they're running incentives where they're giving you 115% above book value. You know, there's a lot of things and a lot of, you know, programs out there that finance companies for these major motor companies are putting out to save people money and to help get, you know, inventory moving off the floor. So check with whatever manufacturer you're trying to go with and see what incentives they actually do have for trade-in values, because I can guarantee you more than likely there's something out there. Now, this is the question I get a lot. Does adding upgrades, you know, all the fancy bells and whistles to your motorcycle, truck, whatever it may be, add value to what your trade-in value is? Quick answer on that is no. Unfortunately, it doesn't. You know, I own 3 bikes and none of them are even near stock, and I know I won't get that money out of it. And that's just one of those things. If you drop a ton of money into something like that, you need to understand and know that you're more than likely not going to get that money out of it. Now, if you sold it private market and somebody just threw the money down and just bought it, then there's that route. But if you're legitimately looking to trade in a vehicle, don't expect to get that money that you put into it out of it, because in the bank's eyes, all they see is that VIN number, the mileage, and the condition of that vehicle, and that's what it's worth to them. And that's what it's really hard, because, you know, I know guys drop 30-40 grand in a bike and they want to move up and step up to the next bike, and, you know, the money they have into it, they're too upside down. And I hate seeing people in that position, and it sucks. But as a consumer and as a person who's doing these add-ons, you need to understand that they don't necessarily mean you're going to get more out of it. Now, say you go to trade in your truck or car and the transmission's bad, or there's a big issue that is not going to be cheap to fix. You plan on trading that in because of that issue. Now, keep in mind, that's going to reflect what that vehicle is actually worth. You know, if a dealership needs to drop $3,000 into your Honda Civic, you know, they're not going to give you full market value of that vehicle because it's not ready to go. They got to drop money into it to make it safe, make it ready for the next person that hopefully purchases it. So before you trade in a vehicle or car, truck, bike, fix whatever the problem is, because yes, you might have to pay whatever it would be, but at the end of the day, your trade value will be higher than it would be if you decided to trade something in that, you know, had some issues. So fix whatever issues you have before you trade it in, because that's going to save you some money. Now, say you go to trade something in and there are a few issues. Maybe you need, you know, new caliper, whatever, something small. And a dealership doesn't want to explain to you what the recondition is going to actually cost them realistically. You can ask for those numbers, because the dealership should be transparent enough with you to say, hey, you know, this thing needs new rear shocks and the neck bearing needs to be adjusted. They should be able to tell you what it's going to cost, because, you know, the dealership does have to pay the technician to do that. The techs don't work for free, and what product, labor, and things like that would be to make it make sense. So if you are trading something in that has some issues, ask for a full breakdown on what it's actually going to cost the dealership to do those things, reflected on what they're going to offer you for the vehicle. Now, make sure when you go to a dealership that there's an actual, I want to call it a process of how they come up with your trade values. Now, I can speak on how I did it and the dealership I worked at, and we were very transparent about this, and they still are. When someone would come in and trade their bike, we would have that bike inspected by a technician just to make sure that if there is anything wrong, we know before we offer you amount of money, because you know what, maybe you think there's a big issue with it, and at the end of the day, there's a few different bolts need tightened up. So the trade would actually be worth more. And on the flip side is, just like you know, looking to trade in and get something different, if you decide to get on a used bike, you know, and you have the peace of mind that that bike has been gone through because you just seen it happen. You know, it's really important that a dealership knows what they're getting into, because that's going to show and reflect, you know, how the deal is going to go after the fact when you get into that new vehicle or that used vehicle. Make sure that everything's good to go. So once that bike was inspected, the VIN number would be dropped into a few different software that we would use that basically pulls a 200-mile radius of what the market value for that bike is based off mileage and condition. Now, it's going to show you based off market value. What the market value is the market that you're in your area. So what we have in Indiana and what's in California is going to be completely different when it comes to pricing. That's going to depend on, you know, how many of those bikes or truck or car are in that area and what they're actually selling for at auction, what they're selling for private market, and what they're selling for at dealerships. And that value is basically what's going to populate what that vehicle is worth. Now, once you get that number and you know what that thing is actually worth, make sure the dealership shows you proof. I always had a paper in my hand that had everything printed out of where I got my values from. So JD Power, NADA, you know, Black Book, there's a few different options depending on what you're looking at. So always get proof of what the dealership is offering you to make sure that it reflects what it's actually worth. Now let's get to the nitty gritty and the stuff that, you know, you need to watch out for, and those are the red flags. If a dealership gives you an offer for your vehicle without even looking at it, I'm talking you walk into the dealership, you point at that car and you say, I want that car, I got a blah, 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 blah for trade. And they say, okay, I'll give you this much for it. Run. Like, there's nothing justifying the number they're giving you. You need hard numbers. So if a dealership just throws a number out at you without any, you know, proof of what you have or even looked at it, you need to turn around and run away really quickly. Now, on that, if a dealership refuses to show you how they got trade values for whatever you're looking to trade in, if they refuse to give you that information, then they're hiding something. Go somewhere else. The next thing is going to be overestimating what the repairs on that vehicle you're trading in are going to be. So like I said a little bit ago, make sure if they're like, we got to throw new engine mounts in it, the serpent, blah, 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 pulley's bad. Make sure that if they're giving you, you know, pushback on your vehicle's junk and this, that, and this, show me proof. I mean, what do you got? Let me see it. Bring me back to the shop right now and let me see what you're talking about. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's dealerships out there that are doing that to people. Make sure that if they're giving you pushback, that you dig into it. Show me. Let me see it then. If they don't show you and let you see it, get out the door, run, and go somewhere else. Something else to keep in mind is that make sure the numbers that you are actually negotiating on are fact. If you give a dealership a payoff and you look at the paperwork and it's $3,000 different, then there's a discrepancy. You need to ask those questions. You know, sometimes, and it happens, nobody's perfect, and someone could hit a wrong number on the computer and things can happen. So make sure that you actually read the paperwork, know what you're looking at, and make sure that there's no discrepancies in the numbers, because it happens. Everything you get, negotiation-wise or offers, write it down. Make sure that that is written down in front of you in paper, in pen, not a pencil, and you have it laid out in front of you, because what's written out on paper and what's said through the mouth is a completely different thing. So make sure you have everything in writing. Now, say you call in and you're talking to the dealership and they're saying guaranteed trade-in values this. There's no way they're guaranteeing you through the phone without seeing it or inspecting it a number. I can tell you right now, and I'm not saying this from experience because my dealership I worked at did not do this, but I have seen other places do this. You know, someone would call in on the phone, hey, I got this for trade and blah, blah, blah. Sales guy picks up the phone, hey, yeah, we'll guaranteed trade approval right now. Bring it in right now, we'll give you that month. Yep, bring it in. That doesn't mean that they're going to give you that number. You know, they call it a bait and switch. They're going to bait you to get into the dealership just to give you a specific number that makes you feel good. And then they're going to say, oh, well, actually, you know, looking at it, there's a few things we need to fix. That number is going to change. So don't ever listen to anyone who says, guaranteed trade number right now. You know, I can promise you it's not going to be a guaranteed trade number. And if you're working with people that are throwing those things out to you, they're just trying to make you feel good. And that's the honest truth. You got to know what you're looking at. The dealership needs to know what they're looking at before they offer you any sort of number for anything. I hope some of these things will help you make your decision a lot easier and keep you in a straight and narrow path to saving some money and getting a better deal on your next vehicle, truck, car, whatever it may be. Now, keep in mind, not every dealership's out there to do these things to you, but there are those dealerships out there. You know what they say, one person ruins it for everybody, and it happens. The most important thing is to keep who you're working with honest, and for yourself to be honest too. If you guys have any other questions or suggestions on what to look out for and things like that, throw them in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It's gonna allow me to get out and do some more cool videos like this. And yeah, we'll catch you next time. Later, guys.